But let me focus on the reason why we're here, which is to give you all an update on the Comprehensive Action Review on Bullying, which started early last year. Internally, MOE reviewing the measures that we've put in place to tackle hurtful behaviour and bullying in schools. And last August, you would have, if you recall, I shared publicly that we are moving to phase 2, where we engage parents, engage students, engage academics, researchers, and more. And more than 2,000 have been engaged, and they've given us very good food for thought. So we have completed the review and have been in the process of implementing some of the 9 measures that were recommended by the review. And these cover 4 broad areas. But in the interest of time, I will focus on just a few of them and highlight and spotlight some of the key measures that we're taking. First, of course, school culture and school processes. We saw that different schools adopted measures to tackle hurtful behaviour and bullying, but across the board, there were variances in the way we handled these issues, and understandably so. So MOE will work closely with our schools to provide clear protocols, clear guidelines, including adopting a more stringent stance on the disciplinary measures that we take to tackle bullying, so that there's evenness, there's consistency, but also a more forward posture when it comes to disciplinary measures. We will work closely with our schools to strengthen reporting structures. So, of course, reporting to peer support leaders, to teachers, to school leaders. But from 2027, we'll also have an online platform to allow people to report hurtful behaviour and bullying. And that will provide another avenue for our children to get the help that they need. In addition to this, we also recognize that our educators, our teachers, have many responsibilities in school. And while tackling hurtful behaviour and bullying is an important part and parcel of the educational journey, because children are interacting every day, right? We want to help our teachers to manage not just their teaching, but also the tackling of hurtful behaviour and bullying. And that is why MOE will provide our schools, based on their needs and their circumstances, with extra resources that they can deploy to bring in additional support. This can be in the form of engaging social workers or social service agencies to come in to help with restorative practice, additional manpower to help with the fact-finding, to help with stakeholder and parent liaison. And this will allow our teachers to handle the issue with more support, but also be able to focus on their core mission of teaching in the classroom, teaching outside the classroom, and using these opportunities as teachable moments for our children. So additional resources will depend again on the needs and circumstances of each school, and it will be a conversation that MOE will have with our schools. Of course, whilst taking a more forward stance, strengthening our disciplinary posture, supporting our teachers and schools is important. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, having had conversations with such a wide array of stakeholders and partners, upstream measures are equally, if not more important. And I want to emphasize that because values education, character building, all these are part and parcel of why our children come to school, not just to grow their intellect or to strengthen their academic subject expertise, but also to mold and shape their character and values and their worldview that they bring out when they leave school. And so we will be enhancing further our CC framework and our school educational framework to strengthen through, for example, realistic role play, as well as real-world examples, to enable our children to strengthen their social-emotional learning, empathy, communication, interrelational skills, cross-cultural communication, resilience, upstanding behaviour. These are the things that we want to do upstream for our whole school, for all our children, as they, pick up an understanding of perspective taking, to understand the impact of their behaviour on people around them, their friends, their classmates, their family, their teachers. So through all of this, we feel that it will help also to empower our students to mold and shape the school that they'd like to see, together with our school leaders and our teachers and parents. So we will also be providing age-appropriate training to our peer support leaders, help them to also play a part alongside our teachers and school leaders to shape a school culture, a culture of respect, of mutual communication, of empathy and understanding, a kind, caring environment that all of us as parents, as members of the public want to see in all our schools. And so they will then take the lead in looking out for friends and classmates who may be isolated, who may have a bit more difficulty fitting in. It will then allow a stronger partnership between the teachers and the students to be able to see more upstanding behavior, to see our teachers alerted early about problems before they spill over. And I think that will allow our students also to recognize that in dealing with this issue, they also have agency, they also can take responsibility. And there will bound to be incidents that happen from time to time because of the sheer number of interactions. And really, school is where interactions become teachable moments, and we learn through doing, we learn through interacting, and we don't just learn through the books. Yet at the same time, we all want our school environment and just generally Singapore as a whole, because our children also interact and learn outdoors, to be a safe environment, to be a conducive environment for learning, even as we want to help our children be resilient and learn how to deal with some of these behaviours and seek appropriate help. And that is why there was strong consensus in the different dialogue sessions that everyone has a part to play in creating that kind of environment and in creating that kind of society where our children can learn safely, grow safely, experience life and grow along the way. So the school-home partnership has always been an important emphasis for the Ministry of Education. Our schools spend a lot of time building up social capital with our important stakeholders who are parents and family members. And in fact, the whole of society has a part to play. And so groups like the Singapore Kindness Movement, Centre for Fathering, and many other organizations focus on kindness, culture building, are important stakeholders. So the school-home partnership enables social capital to be built. You've seen how in Teck Ghee Primary School, they do that on a daily basis. It's not just talk, it's also action, because relationship building, trust building is a perpetual work in progress as generations of parents come on board and as teachers come on board. It's perpetual work in progress. It's a culture where teachers and parents are on the same side, all wanting to support our children. It's a culture where when things happen, parents don't see other parents as adversaries. They don't see their classmates' children or the perpetrators of hurtful behavior as adversaries to be dealt with in a vindictive way, but rather that they all see that, well, children are children. There has been hurtful behavior, there may be serious bullying, but let us work together, deal with the incident, ensure safety. Discipline is needed, but ultimately it's an educative and restorative process that we want to incorporate firmly into the whole cycle of dealing with hurtful behavior and bullying. So that whole of society, school-home partnership is also a very important precondition for us to be able not just to manage hurtful behavior and bullying, but to be able to minimize the worst incidents, but also to turn daily interactions into teachable moments. So that is where we stand. 9 recommendations, which I think my colleagues have shared with you, covering 4 broad areas, signaling our commitment to continuing to review our measures, and we will continue to do so. As we implement them this year and into next year, we will continue to work closely with our schools to monitor progress, to look at the data, to be able to have a qualitative sense of how things improve. For schools, through our network learning communities, to share best practices. For our key appointment holders, looking after school student well-being and school culture, to be able to share best practices with one another, not just within the cluster, so that we level each other up and continue to keep up with the times when it comes to interactions between children. Yeah, so this is broadly a few points, and But take some questions before I give a short doorstop in Mandarin. Maybe we take some questions first, and then I leave the Chinese soundbite for the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just from CNA TV here. Thank you, Minister, for the opening remarks. So I just had maybe 3 follow-up questions for that. So the first would be the reporting channel. I understand that MOE wants it to be live by next year, 2027. Can you share a bit how would it work? Would it be anonymous reporting? Who can go in? That's the first. The second would be for the additional manpower funds.
Yes.
How many more maybe staff members can the school hire to help with these cases? And the last, you mentioned that parents and schools need to work closer. They want to this whole society approach. So how does, I suppose, MOE hope that, for what kind of outcomes does MOE hope through this school-home partnership? Do you hope for the parents to have more trust towards the schools, for example? Because that seems to be what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So on your first question, there are already existing reporting channels, as I said, to form teachers, to school leaders, to peer support leaders. Some schools already have virtual reporting mechanisms, but this online reporting system will be set up by next year, and more details will be provided, and then you can have a look at it. Yeah. Your other question is about school-home partnership. The term partnership says it all. We want our teachers and our parents to see each other as partners in helping their children to grow and to learn. And key to that is trust. And trust takes time to build, and it's always work in progress to maintain. And this has to be done in practical ways. Having an MOE charter for homeschool partnership is important. Having guidelines is important. But our school leaders walk the talk. They work with the PSG to reach out to more and more of the parent community, create opportunities based on school opportunities, create opportunities based on school circumstances for parents to be actively involved in the school in some way, allow for interactions for parents with each other, and for teachers and parents to engage one another. During one of our dialogue sessions, a very interesting anecdote came up from one of the parents who attended. She said, my daughter's teacher calls all the time, but I look forward to it. Because each time it calls, it is often about something wonderful my child has done, something wonderful my child's friend has done for my child. And as a result, I built up trust, lots of reservoir of goodwill. And of course, from time to time, my daughter's teacher will call, and it's about something my daughter has done that isn't right, or a learning gap that she hopes I can help fill at home. I'm referring to her, yeah? And she says that, well, with that kind of trust, I feel actively involved, and I just have such goodwill towards the teachers and the school. And we see that even amidst our teachers' busy work schedules, that they take time to build that relationship with their parents. Year after year, there'll be new parents, there'll be a new class, and our teachers work so hard on so many aspects of teaching our children. But this homeschool partnership sets an important precondition to be able to deal with incidents when they happen, so that everyone takes the right perspective. It's natural instinct for us to be very protective of our children when they tell us that they've been hurt or they've been subject to hurtful language. We will, of course, feel strong empathy for our child and want the best for our child, even asking for follow-up measures to be taken, the other party to be disciplined. But if we have a close relationship with the teachers and the school leaders, if we have a good relationship with other parents in our child's class or in school, if we can see how things are done in the school through opportunities that the PSG provides with the school, I think that creates the conditions for trust, and that allows the perspective of all the parties involved in an unfortunate incident like hurtful behaviour or bullying to be able to focus not just on discipline, but on the educative and restorative process, which is so important for our children to learn the right lessons. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Minister. I'm from Gabrielle from Straits Times. I just want to know two questions on your engagement with stakeholders. I understand you met over 2,000 people. Could you share a bit more about the demographic of who you met? Like, for example, did they include parents of kids who were bullies or bullied? Did they also include students who were bullied or bullies? And then from these, could you also share some insights that led to overall recommendations? I understand there seems to be some effort towards standardization across schools. Were there any specific concerns or insights that you got from the dialogues that led to that?
Yeah. So first, we engaged more than 2,000 educators, school leaders, parents, students, and academics, researchers, and so on. And my colleagues and I, in various platforms, engaged them. We also had people who write in to us very passionately, some sharing their own stories, some sharing their ideas and recommendations. And we're very grateful for everyone's candid sharing and very heartfelt sharing. The messages we received, the people we met, including students and alumni, necessarily those who could reflect on what had happened are older. Right? Some had already gone to IHL, some already graduated. Some are young parents who reflect on their own experience back when they were in school. So it's a whole diverse community that we engaged, both physically as well as online and through emails and letters. This point you raised about having some standardization, I would say, gives everyone the assurance that our schools have a common guideline that seeks to ensure greater consistency of practice and a more even meting out of disciplinary measures. That is not to say that our schools are their autonomy is taken away or their agency is taken away, because our schools and our teachers know our children the best. They're on the ground every day interacting with our children. And even as we provide a forward posture, a sterner disciplinary approach, if you want to call that, that does not mean our schools don't have discretion to take into account specific circumstances. So I think that is, again, a partnership between the ministry and our frontline schools. Having said that, disciplinary measures are not the sole focus of our recommendations. As I said earlier, discipline in the context of schools must be educative, right? And that also means, and I think my colleagues would have shared with you, that beyond disciplinary measures, we also are going to share clearer guidelines and recommendations and best practices on helping tackle issues where children with special education needs are involved, whether as the recipients of hurtful behaviour or bullying, or as the perpetrators, if you want to use such a term. And I think all these basically help strengthen our schools' competencies and capabilities. I think you mentioned earlier about additional manpower, which I forgot to answer. Yeah, apologize for that. We are not going to prescribe what kind of additional resources schools should bring in, nor the type of service or capabilities. It is best to listen to our schools. They know best. They know their situation best. They know the profile of their children best. And they know, the teachers will know best what are the gaps they'd like to fill, what are the capabilities they'd like to build. And session after session, they tell us restorative practice. We want to restore. And we've got a good RP community in Singapore, restorative and therapeutic practice. And there's a skill set to it. Our teachers are taught a lot of skills, but we must be fair to them. They have many responsibilities on their plate. And I think it behoves us to provide them with optionalities and resources. Of course, they can compare notes and say, okay, what are you doing? What then do we want to do? And we will have this close conversation with them and provide them the resources. Whether it's a person who comes in every day, or whether it's a team that's rotated, or whether it's held at the cluster level, or whether it is a liaison, resourcing. And I think we let our schools guide us, and then we share best practices through the network learning communities. Yeah.
Minister, one question.
Yeah, Elisha.
So I think with regards to previous bullying incidents, like for example the Montfort Set case, I think one of the concerns when people watched the video was the bystander effect about how the boy was being bullied in the canteen and a lot of the students who were present didn't really do anything. So with regards to the CC lesson, I understand there are now new teaching strategies to help students engage in like real life scenarios. So how do you hope this sort of like updated teaching methods or strategies will increase the upstander effect or reduce the bystander effect?
Yeah. So we equip our students. Of course, our students, as they play, as they interact, they learn by doing. And there's a lot of informal learning, right? They also model after their parents and their family members and the community and media and social media as well. So that's why school-home partnership is important in making sure that at home and in school, there's always an adult that can provide guidance, help explain the world, help explain what their children see and learn. But one of the ideas that came up during the dialogues, and this was one of which I attended, one of the parents said, when incidents happen in school, why not use those actual examples after they've stopped being live as educational material for our children? Because then it doesn't become too arm's length, too... it becomes relevant to them and salient because it's happened in the school. And we have to strike a balance because there could be some raw emotions, the issues may not have settled down completely. But then the recommendation was formed that we strengthen values education, use more role play to help children see different perspectives, to help them to pick up the skills to be resilient and to stand up for themselves, and also how they should react when they see something bad unfolding in front of their eyes, to safely upstand for their classmate or friend, and to seek help from a responsible adult like a teacher when things happen. Of course, also to teach them that, well, if you see a classmate who's feeling, particularly distressed or feeling very isolated or lonely, make a friend, be a partner, help look out for one another. So these are the things that we hope to teach, but ultimately that quality of that teaching interaction is important because you're not teaching a hard subject. You're trying to create opportunities for our children to, in as real a way as possible and as instinctive a way as possible, to be able to mold that kind of behaviours and recognize that I can do something like that, and this is how I can go about doing it.